Hey, welcome back to Livin MN Outdoors, and thanks for tuning in to this week's fishing report. Before we get into the fishing report, I want to give a huge shout out to Matt from the Net Buddy. He was up on Leech Lake this past week, and he caught some really nice smallmouth bass and some really nice walleyes. Appreciate you sending those pictures in and giving us a report. With that being said, let's dive into the report. We're going to start up on Leech Lake. The walleye bite has been a little bit tougher, but they're still finding them in that 10 to 16 feet of water. They're finding them on the break lines. The best bite has been on a slip bobber and a leech, but the jig and minnow bite is starting to pick up. Now in the next 2 weeks, as the water temps drop down into the mid 60s, the walleye bite is going to really pick up, and that jig and a minnow bite is going to probably be the key. So be ready for that in the next 2 weeks, because the walleyes will really fire up. Now as far as the smallmouth bass go, they're finding smallmouth bass out on the main lake reefs. Find those isolated boulders on those reefs in 12 to 18 feet of water. The best approach is a Ned rig or a drop shot, and as far as the plastic go, use something crawfish colored. They're catching some really nice smallmouth bass. Whether it's morning, midday, or afternoon, that's a good thing to target when the walleye bite is slow. Now, the perch bite is really hot up there right now. They said the best bays to target right now are North Walker, Steamboat, and Sucker Bay. Now, as far as depth, they said 3 to 12 feet of water, and target weed humps or big flats with adjacent weed cover. Now as far as what to use to catch them, he said a 1/16 ounce jig or a 1/8 ounce jig tipped with a fathead, a shiner, or a rainbow. They're pulling in some really nice limits of perch, so if you're looking forward to eating some perch, Leech Lake is the place to be right now. Now as far as muskie fishing, the muskie fishing is really starting to fire up again. They said Pelican Island is a good place to start. Look for weed humps, look for rock humps, bucktails, big swim baits, topwaters. It's kind of a window bite, so you might see some fish following all day, can't get them to commit, but that golden hour will come and you'll catch a bunch of fish in a short amount of time. Now as far as panfish go, I didn't get a lot of info on that. I would assume that you can still find those panfish on the deep weed lines. Whether it be with a slip bobber and a night crawler or jig and a minnow for the crappies. Now if you're looking for a place to stay up on Leech Lake, we highly recommend the beautiful Horseshoe Bay Lodge. Cabins, hotel rooms, full barn restaurant, great place to stay. If you're looking to hire a guide for up on Leech Lake, we highly recommend Leech Lake Guide Team LLC. They got 6 guides. They're all wonderful, fun to fish with, so go ahead and call Austin and get a trip booked as soon as possible. Alright, let's move over to Lake Winnibigoshish. I talked to Chad from the Pines Resort and Scott from zupsguideservice, and they told me not a lot has changed from last week. They said they're still finding the walleyes in that 5 to 12 feet of water, on shoreline breaks, on shallow rock piles, or out on some of the bars out there. They mentioned Moses, Bina, and Center Bar. They're catching them on the break lines there. They're pulling spinners with minnows or a night crawler. And then if you can get on top of a really good school, you can pitch slip bobbers with a leech or a night crawler. Now, he said they didn't have a lot of bass fishermen up there this week, so he didn't have much to offer as far as bass fishing. The crappies, they still remain elusive. They had fired up over in Cutfoot Sioux, but now they're back to not being able to find them. Now as far as bluegills, he said you can still catch some really big bluegills on the reed lines, so don't be afraid to go try them up. Throw a slip bobber with a night crawler and you'll catch some really big bluegills. Now the muskie bite, that's still staying strong. They're targeting the shallow shoreline points with weeds on them, 3 to 9 feet of water, throwing bucktails, topwaters, some shallow swim baits, and they're catching some really nice muskies. Now, Chad told me they still have some cabins available for September and October. They also rent pontoons. You don't have to be staying at the resort to rent a pontoon from them, but they got a full bar, full restaurant, live bait, really nice marina. So if you're looking for a place to go fish up on Lake Winnibigoshish, go ahead and call Chad from the Pines Resort. Now, if you're looking for a guided trip up on Lake Winnie, we highly recommend Scott Zupfer from Zup's Guide Service. He's a professional fisherman, really knows what he's doing when it comes to the walleye perch fishing. So go ahead, give Scott a call and book that trip as soon as possible. All right, moving to Mille Lacs Lake, I talked to Mark from the Norseman Guide Service. He said that the smallmouth bite has been improving some. He said the depth that they've been finding them is at 20 to 22 feet of water. Finding them on those break lines off of the reefs or on secluded boulders. He said right now the best way to fish them is with the drop shot with green pumpkin. He recommends using a big drop shot weight to hold your bait very still. He said you got to work that drop shot really slow right now. He said he's been watching fish on active target, and if you twitch it when they're coming in, it spooks them off. They want it dead still, and they come in, they'll eat, and you'll catch some really big smallmouth that way. Now, he did say you can find some of them fish up shallower, and you can find some out deeper, but the most fish are congregated in that 20 to 22 feet of water. Now, if you guys are looking to book a guide trip up on Mille Lacs Lake, he did say he has some really good dates available. You got to give him a call. Book that trip up as soon as possible because fall is coming and those smallmouth are going to really start to feed. Now, up on Mille Lacs, the Mille Lacs Lake Smallmouth Alliance and the MLF are partnering up to throw a giant party this coming weekend, Saturday from 3 to 7 p.m. at Rocky Bottom Restaurant in Garrison. There is a $30 entry fee, but you're going to get tons of door prizes, all you can eat barbecue. You'll get to chat with some of the big name fishermen and just have a great time talking to the vendors and all the other fishermen up there. Rachel and I are going to be up there. We're going to try and be there right at 3. Don't know if we'll be able to stay till 7, but hopefully we'll bump into some of you up there, and don't be afraid to stop us and say hello. All right, let's move over to Castles Resort in Isle Bay. Talked to Jeff earlier this week, and he told me that the fishing is really good right now. They've been targeting those outer reefs in 21 to 26 feet of water. He said earlier in the evening, they're fishing that 26 foot, and as the evening progresses, they're sliding up into 21 foot. He said the perch and the walleyes are really starting to school up, and if you can get on a school, you're going to pull a bunch of fish in. They've also been catching some nice smallmouth bass out there as well. He said the best technique they've been using is a slip bobber and a leech, or half of a night crawler. Now, you can catch them pulling lead core out there as well, crankbaits in crawfish or perch color, and they're catching all different sizes of fish right now. Now, pike fishing, it's still been pretty good in the bay there. They're pulling spinner baits over the weed edges and catching a ton of good eater pike, along with some really big ones as well. Now, Castles Resort is accepting their ice reservations, so if you want to book up an ice castle, a permanent skid house, a cabin, whatever it might be, go ahead, give them a call, get your dates booked up as soon as possible, and have some fun out on the ice this winter. So if you're looking to get over to Isle Bay on Mille Lacs Lake, go ahead and give Jeff a call from Castles Resort. So that's going to do it for this week's fishing report. We really appreciate you tuning in. Hope you get out fishing, take some pictures, send them to our email. We really appreciate that. Remember to be kind at the boat ramp. And most importantly, don't forget to get on out there and get living.